What's up YouTube, Rhea Sunshine here, and today's video is going to be taking a more serious tone. I guess this could fall under the Rhea Rants video series, which I may have only done one other video ever. I don't know. I'll have to check on that. I don't like to rant a lot. I do have opinions on things. This just hit really close to home, and I'm talking about Pornhub and all of the recent news about it. So if you don't know what's going on, I know I talked a little bit about it on my Instagram. Follow my Instagram. I talked a bit more about it vocally on my Twitter. Follow my Twitter. Both Instagram and Twitter are Rhea Sunshine, 2 underscores in between. So REYA__sunshine. On Twitter, it's the videos a little more concise. It's kind of like the TLDR. So if that's what you're looking for, just go to my Twitter right now. This is the promised video that is more in depth, and I will explain what happened according to my sources and my own opinions. So I guess I'll do a disclaimer here. Don't sue me. These are my opinions and these are the facts as far as I know them. And I'm just a human being deciphering what's going on. So basically, Pornhub was the subject of a New York Times article written by Nicholas Kristof. And this Nicholas Kristof wrote this article in cahoots with an organization called Trafficking Hub. So Trafficking Hub's goal is to shut down Pornhub. Turns out Trafficking Hub is actually the same organization, just renamed and like retargeted very specifically. It's Exodus Cry. And if you go on Exodus Cry's website, you can see that they are very anti-porn. It's under the guise of wanting to save people. It's under the guise of wanting to help protect children and human trafficking. And these are things that any reasonable person would also agree with. However, there's one big problem. They basically think the entire sex industry is so intertwined with human trafficking, with child sexual abuse, that the whole industry needs to go because you never know what is consensual and what is not. And as someone in the industry, I can tell you that couldn't be further from the truth. So the article comes out. Kristof is writing it with these organizations. We know these organizations and their motives. They talk about a few people's stories, and they are not happy stories. They're stories of abuse, and they are told in explicit detail to really elicit emotions from the reader and to elicit outrage. And then Kristof uses it to a call to action to, withdraw the credit card companies, whatever, from Pornhub and shouldn't exist, blah, blah, blah. So in response to that, what happens? The credit card companies pull out from Pornhub. Currently, if you try to buy my videos on Pornhub, it says that there's no payment option. So, and payments are currently disabled. So yeah, that happens. By the way, the only people who can accept payments on Pornhub are verified models who have their information uploaded and have their bank info uploaded and their IDs and all this stuff. We are the ones who can no longer get paid. There still is a Pornhub website, and there still is the clip site, and I have faith it's gonna come back and be okay. But we need to get into the nitty-gritty of it, and I really wanna explain my views on the whole thing so that you, as my audience, are aware of the situation from the adult industry's perspective, and specifically an independent content creator in the adult industry. So we can no longer get payments on Model Hub. People are like, oh, I'm so sorry, use other platforms, whatever. And I'm personally fortunate enough to have like a variety of income streams. So I'm not freaking out because my one income stream can no longer get income. I'm freaking out because this is a very scary precedent. And I'm freaking out because these religious nuts essentially convince these credit card companies of so much power to withdraw their support from Pornhub. I suppose it was a response to the pushback from the article in the New York Times. The Pornhub changed their requirements. They removed all videos from unverified accounts and are requiring users to be verified. You know, send in your show you are who you are and you're of age and upload content, which honestly I think was overdue. I'm very happy they did that. And so I read about that. That happened first before the big pullout from the credit card companies. So I guess it was too little too late. And adult sites typically are extremely careful about not letting abuse materials get on their site. And I just want to point out that they are way, way, way more careful about it than mainstream media sources, like social media. Mainstream social media platforms suck in comparison to adult platforms and how they're able to moderate them. In the adult industry, we're under so much scrutiny and so much legal scrutiny that we're very aware of these things.
One thing to remember is, so the porn industry or the adult industry, we're usually on the cutting edge of technology. Like we push the limit, like we really work hard and create new things. MindGeek has on the MindGeek like Wikipedia page, there's a list of the programs they use to monitor the content. And they use like 5 different programs to monitor content to make sure it's like legal and safe. A big reason why Facebook like has so many instances of illegal content is Facebook is not held responsible for what other random people post on the site, right? Like the real like perpetrators of this violence are the people creating it, right, doing violent acts and then uploading it. What Exodus Cry and Visa, MasterCard, and Discover Card have done doesn't actually affect that in any way. It doesn't slow down victims being created.
I do want to point out, though no abuse should be posted anywhere, ever. I think everyone's in agreement with that. I hate that like the article puts you in a place where if you want to defend Pornhub, it makes you seem like you're defending abuse or child exploitation, and that's not it at all. It should never happen, and it should never be publicized for the world to see. That's awful. And it should never be used by some religious organizations really exploited these stories to further their own agenda. May I point out, they are exploiting these people's stories as well. While it should never happen, it happens way less on adult platforms. And specifically, it's happened exponentially less on Pornhub than on Facebook. The numbers are crazy. It's like 100 and something cases of child sexual abuse materials, which is 100 something too many on Pornhub. Compared to Facebook, 84 million. That's nuts. It's something that just shouldn't exist, period. But the fact that there's that discrepancy makes you kind of wonder, I kind of don't think Trafficking Hub really cares about saving the children, do they? Wouldn't they go after Facebook, the platforms where it exists way more, as well as Pornhub?
But if they truly wanted to save trafficking victims, why wouldn't they be calling for Facebook to also monitor their content better? And Facebook has monetized live streaming.
Wouldn't they do something else to help them? I don't think there's any work they do to help actual victims. Instead, they just preach that anyone in the adult industry is clearly a victim. And that just irks me.
It's important to say also that all sex workers are against child abuse. Like, none of us are like, yay, like we're all against child abuse. We don't want illegal content. We want everything to be safe and consensual and legal. but the actions of Visa and MasterCard in no way help victims. They only punish legal, consensual adult work. And one thing to note is, so if Exodus Cry's purpose was to have less victims of child exploitation or sexual crimes, taking away safe online platforms might lead to some sex workers going, holy crap, I just lost my rent money. Why don't I try to find someone on Tinder to pay me for sex? So it's actually going to create more victims by taking away the safe online tools and marketplaces we use to make a living. Very similar to Sesta Pasta, in that once Backpage was gone, like a lot of sex workers could no longer safely find work online. They had to just go stand on the side of the street, like that stereotypical, most risky type of sex work that you can do.
I am doing this of my own accord. I've been doing it for years, and I have a lot of freedom with my profession, and I fucking love that, and I own that. And it's a hard job, mostly because of society and the judgment you receive. So anyways, I'm not trafficked. I'm here of my own will. I think that what Pornhub did by making users be verified is a positive thing. I am a little scared about the industry as a whole and about this ripple that the New York Times article made. It's just very unsettling.
Exodus Cry has already mentioned, I think they've name dropped OnlyFans and X videos. And this Visa and MasterCard basically siding with them in this really weird crusade, I feel like it's only emboldened them. Like, are they just gonna try harder now? They're gonna be more confident and have more followers? Like, that's really scary when we're not doing anything wrong, but we're being targeted.
And I'm in a lot better spirits right now, but I have to be honest, when it first happened, it really affected me and it was really triggering. It kind of re-triggered some emotional wounds I have from childhood. I was really shamed. I know I've told some of my audience this before. I think I've mentioned it on YouTube before a few times, but I'll go into a little more detail with you guys right now. So it's serious story time. But I was shamed from a very young age for being sexual. My mom was really religious and she wanted to be a good mom so bad. And bless her soul, I think it kind of backfired in the ways she wanted. Like, she wanted me to be a good Christian girl, and I figured it out early. I've been masturbating for as long as I can remember. And when I was young, it was not sexual, not at all. It was purely physical. And it's not entirely uncommon for young girls to figure it out early. And I happen to do that. You know, I have ADHD, which I've only realized in my adult life and been diagnosed, but it's also why you see me probably a lot like fidgeting and looking around and getting distracted and ums and ahs and like not knowing what I'm talking about. There's your answer. Also the time thing, in case you're like, no, my live shows are always like 3 hours. Who knows what time, but anyways, that's a distracted aside. Anywho, what was I talking about? I know what I was talking about. It makes sense I figured it out early because that was where I was going with the ADHD thing. You know, fidgety, whatever. So it was like a self-soothing thing for me. And I know that now as an adult, after a lot of therapy. When I was young, I was shamed. I think my mom did not know how to handle it. And she was just like, no, bad, wrong, don't ever do that. Like, you know, kept a watchful eye over me. And that was very, very traumatizing. Like low-key, like this weird emotional, like low-key trauma, right? Because it's not like necessarily one experience that was insanely traumatic. It was just over time being shamed and not realizing. I never learned that masturbation is just a natural human impulse. I actually thought there was something seriously wrong with me, that I was like mentally handicapped somehow. Like I literally was never taught about it. And I thought that like there was something deeply, it's hard for me to explain without just keep saying shamed, but like, I don't know. I guess if you've been through a similar thing of being like shamed like that and having your world kind of rocked when you kind of put it all together and slowly realize there was no reason for it. But yeah, it's like a feeling of like just being, you're embarrassed of who you are, but it's also like you can't help it. And it's kind of embarrassing because it took until high school to realize what I was doing was masturbation. So she made me go to a Christian counselor. I was acting out, rebelling, whatever. And the counselor was not just any Christian counselor. It was one that worked directly with her Christian counselor. And the three of them were in cahoots. I didn't know this at the time, but the three of them were in cahoots basically to get me to stop masturbating. So I go in there as like a high school kid and they give me this book. The counselor gives me this book and it's like, oh God, I kind of want to do a YouTube series now where I like read the book and like show how God awful it is, but that's an aside. In the book, I realized through that book, because it actually talked about stories similar to mine, like, but there were stories of like reform and who knows, they were probably made up, who knows, I don't know. But they're like, you know, these Christian girls who are like, I used to masturbate, but now I don't. I used to kiss boys, but now I don't, whatever. So, and like, I'm better for it and you can do it too, whatever. Don't watch shows like the OC. That was literally in the book. And yes, my mom had to read all the lyrics from CDs I bought. Shit, MTV was blocked from my house. I don't know, it was a whole thing. Look at me now. But yeah, so.
If Exodus Cry's like goal is to end porn, like humans are so naturally sexual. Like that like sexual need is gonna come out somewhere. Like we're not just gonna stop masturbating, and like the whole world is not gonna stop masturbating, stop watching porn. So what are they even trying to do?
I'm reading this story and it's about a girl who didn't know she was masturbating. And then she realized that that's what she was doing by like touching herself or whatever. And then like she healed herself or whatever. And my counselor made me read that out loud to her and then asked me what I thought. And that was like traumatic in and of itself. It was like this holy shit moment because like the light bulb was finally going off in my head. Like, what the hell? This is you and this is what you've been doing. And I felt really ashamed. I felt ashamed still because like the shame was a part of me for masturbating. I felt ashamed, really ashamed and embarrassed for not knowing. And I was mad at my mom because clearly the whole thing was a setup. That became very clear in that moment because we didn't talk much verbally at that point we didn't talk really at all about masturbation at that point. I just knew since I was shamed for it and like shunned, punished basically for it, like don't do it, scolded, that it was something to be ashamed about and keep secret. So, and she didn't want me to do. So that's that. I want to hug the little me and I hope no one else ever has to go through that. Unfortunately, I know I'm not the only one. Like I know that this is a somewhat, I don't want to say common, but this is something that happens to other people and that makes me sad. And I hope it stops. I hope, there's a difference. It's not an all or nothing thing. Like, of course you don't really want your kid masturbating like all around or whatever, but like there are ways to talk to children if they do happen to be playing with themselves down there. You let them know, you do it in private, and one day they'll learn more about it when they're older or something. I didn't get that treatment and instead was shamed, and now I've used it as a career. And I honestly see my career as it's kind of healing for me, my career. I am almost doing this work, like in a way in response to all of that, I do believe. I think part of my humanity was stripped away from me by being so shamed about sex and not being informed about masturbation and just kind of having it all cut off from me, all the information cut off, and also all of the resources and feeling like I wasn't a human being. So now I'm owning it, and it's kind of like I'm taking that agency back for myself. And this whole thing with the article and the credit cards pulling out from Pornhub was re-traumatizing for me, because it's as if the credit card companies became one and the same with trafficking hub in a sense, where they listened to them and their story and their narrative and withdrew. They said, no, 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 bad, wrong, shame, withdrew their services from Pornhub, which actually does not shame or fix anyone posting abuse to the site. All it does is take away something from legal, consensual adult workers. It felt like a little bit of a repeat of that. Like, holy shit, like the authority is coming down on me and telling me what is okay with my sexuality and what is okay. Yeah, like basically telling me I'm not okay sexually. And, you know, I know not everybody agrees with my job. I know it's a controversial job. This is not my first rodeo, and I fought long and hard before I jumped into this career. I don't expect everyone to love it, but to go out of their way to try to take it away, it's just, yeah, it was honestly traumatizing, like re-traumatizing a bit.
One big shocking thing to me is that essentially Visa and MasterCard heard the cries of a religious hate group who's also like an anti-LGBTQ group. Like they're literally like a religious hate group. They heard their complaints and went, you're right, we should pull the income of how many models use Pornhub to pay their rent? Hundreds of thousands of consensual adult workers. Let's just create it so that they can't get paid because this one religious extremist hate group said they didn't like what they were doing. That's insane to me. And it shows how much power Visa and MasterCard have over us, which like maybe they shouldn't be able to make those decisions for us. As a sex worker, we deal with like a lot of random online hate or like mean comments. Like that comes with the territory and we're kind of used to it. But I do think it's incredibly important to share our personal stories when it comes to things that really matter. So, you know, if I'm having a bad day, I probably won't tweet about it. If I'm having a bad day due to a hate group convincing a financial company to take away our legal income, I'm gonna tweet about it and tweet about how upset I am. And like I skipped work for a few days and I was like, you guys, I'm exhausted because I feel attacked. You know, like I'm not gonna cam, but I will keep tweeting about this. And the reason is because this is hurting me. And I think it's important to share those stories because people really dehumanize sex workers. They don't think of, I don't know what it is. It's like they forget that we're just regular people who have feelings, you know?
You know, it's been some time and I've kind of processed it and like slowly shared some online and felt a little better. So I wanted to kind of speak more in depth about what's going on and share my thoughts and be a little vulnerable and share my story. And I think my story is important and it does mean a lot to me. Like I said, it's one of the reasons I do this work. And if my story can help a mother out there who doesn't know how to parent their child in this way, or if my story can help you, maybe you have a similar story to me, I would be incredibly honored if it did. And feel free to reach out to me because I really like this shit. I'm very interested in psychology, I guess because I'm fucked up. No, but there's a little truth to that stereotype. I did study it in college. And yeah, I'm happy to talk to you, and acceptance is really big for me. Go figure. Pretty much I just explained myself in a nutshell in this video. I feel like I gave you everything you need to really know about me. That's why I tried to be extremely non-judgmental of anyone, no matter what your beliefs are. You know, I don't go into the church flashing my titties. I try to be respectful, and I do it on my channel. So, you know, maybe the church people can be a little more respectful of me. Anyways, please let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you hear people talking about this issue and they are only talking about the other side, it would mean a ton to me and the entire adult industry as a whole. If you speak up for us, as an adult industry, we are not for abuse of any kind. We're not for trafficking. We are for safe, consensual adult entertainment.
And I've been talking about the facts a lot, but what really does change people's minds or make people really understand how important this is the personal stories of the anxiety or fear that we're dealing with right now with this kind of like attack, basically. And it's not like an attack on Pornhub. It's an attack on our rights and our ability to work in a legal job. So it's insane that a financial institution like that has that much power over what we can and can't do when what we do is legal. So it's bigger than just Pornhub.
So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Of course, subscribe to my channel, por favor. Love you guys.